What do we do with limitations? Instead of living with them or abiding by them, we go around them. We go around them. We take shortcuts. You know, a lot of proud mamas and papas tell us, or after school specials tell us, if you put your mind to it, you can be anything you want. That's a lie. You can't be anything you want. We're all limited, and we figured that out by now. You can't be everything you want. So we live around them. You know, the question today, and I think the question that I want to really harp upon is, how do we live a life without limitations? How do we live a life without limitations? How do we live the life we always wanted in spite of our limitations? Because you and I know that you never, ever had a chance to pick where you would be born, what gender you will be born with, what race, religion, what parents you would have. You had no choice in any of these matters. We are all limited, finite species. We are. And in spite of this, how do we live a life without limitations? And today, Paul tells us it comes from our attitude. This is the singular choice you can make in your life that you have absolute control over. Your IQ, your height, your physical beauty, you have no choice over. You can't control the genes that work around in your body. But Paul says that it is about attitude. You can play. You have the choice. You have control of your attitude. And so how do we live a life without limitations? We must have an attitude like Christ. We must have an attitude such as Christ. In other words, Paul is telling us to limit yourself by loving another. Limit yourself by loving another. Even John the Baptist said that I must decrease if Christ must increase. If you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, you know right now, if you want the relationship to work, somebody must decrease at times so the other party can increase. Limit yourself by loving another. Now, here's another problem with limitations. Limitations create, pay attention now, limitations create either chaos or community. Limitations either create chaos, mayhem, or community. Why do I say that? Because the Apostle Paul wouldn't be talking about loving one another and having fellowship and kindred spirit with Christ unless there was a problem with it. You see, whenever you read the epistles or in the Bible when Paul writes these letters, the only reason he would tell them to do something is because they haven't been doing it. You feel me? If they've been doing it, like if you've been getting straight A's, your parents aren't going to say study more. Your parents say study more because you've been getting straight C's. You feel me? Now that's just a hypothetical situation. I'm sure you're not getting straight C's. Okay? But do you get the picture here? Paul is exhorting, he is asking, he is begging these people to have an attitude of Christ because obviously they haven't been. There was chaos in the church of Philippi. You know, a lot of my American friends are mesmerized. They even are in awe of the Korean community because we all know each other. We do. The stereotype is true. We pretty much know each other. We do. Come on. Or if you don't know that person, you know somebody that know that person. You feel? But even within this community, when we don't limit ourselves and love another, there is chaos. There is chaos. And Paul says, I know that your current condition is chaotic, but let me encourage you. We can cultivate community. can bring community. Why is community so difficult to achieve in the midst of our church, in the midst of our Korean community, in the midst of America? You know why? Because we hate limitations. Right? We all hate limitations. But we know we are limited. The consequence is jealousy. See, when you're better than me at something, when you are above me and you're looking down on me, it spews envy, strife, and jealousy. Why are we so jealous of one another, perhaps in this room? Because of our limitations. Because we don't want to limit ourselves. We want to elevate ourselves. You feel? We don't want to be humble. We want to be proud. And when we perceive others as having higher positions or acclaim in the eyes of people we respect and love, something churns in our stomach and we target everybody that's beating us as an enemy. In other words, what I'm telling you, church, this afternoon is that we are too proud to accept our limitations. And these limitations are from God. God has given us specific limitations. You know why? So we can need each other. If I have everything I possibly need, I don't need you. If I'm good at every subject in school possible, then I don't need you. I don't need my classmates. I don't need my professor. But most of all, God has given us limitations so that we may need Him. We may need Him. And I'm thankful that I'm getting older. And I'm not decrepit or crippled, but I feel myself decaying. And I need God, but I'm too proud sometimes to admit it. I need your prayer sometimes. But you know, when people say, any prayer requests, I'm too proud to say, yeah, pray for me. Because I don't want to have to need anyone. So you see, Paul is telling the Philippians, living around limitations is not enough. See, that's what we do with the speed limit, with freedom of speech, our IQ, our looks. We try to live around these limitations. We get surgery, we buy a nice car, we pretend we're somebody we're not. We live around limitations. But Paul says living around limitations is not enough. Actually, it's bad. It's hazardous. Instead, Paul says, live within the limitations God has intentionally given us, so that we may accept our need for help and learn to depend on one another. Listen to what he says again. If any of you have encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from His love, if any fellowship with the Spirit of God, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose. He says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourself. When is the last time I consider someone better than myself? When is the last one, even though I am better than you at something, I will limit myself so you can feel good about yourself? That I will limit myself so that you can be elevated. My friends, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to tell you today is that living with limitations imitates Christ. Living with limitations. You got them anyway. But living with them, accepting them, living with limitations imitates Christ. Therefore, if you are trying to live around your limitations or pretend that you're unlimited,